All right, let's talk about the financial script. You know the one. It's that life plan we've all heard a million times, the path that feels, well, like it's the only way. It kind of goes something like this.
First step, you go to school, right? Get the best grades you can, get that degree, because that's supposedly the foundation for, well, everything else.
Next up, you take that fancy education and you go get a good job. You know, something stable, secure, with a paycheck that hits your bank account like clockwork.
And then, of course, you start checking off the boxes. You buy the house, you save some money, you climb that corporate ladder, and hopefully one day you finally get to retire. That's the blueprint for a successful life, right? But what if that whole plan, the one that's been celebrated for generations, what if it wasn't the path to freedom at all? What if it was actually designed to keep you trapped? That is the bombshell idea at the heart of one single book.
A book that sold, get this, over 40 million copies. And not because it was an easy read, but because it put a name to a feeling that millions of us have, that something about the standard advice is just fundamentally wrong. Today, we're digging into the ideas from Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Okay, so to really get this book, you first need to understand the core story. Kiyosaki builds his entire philosophy around the two biggest male influences in his life, who he calls his two dads.
So on one side, you have his poor dad. This was his actual father, a brilliant guy, PhD, the head of education for the state of Hawaii. He followed every single rule, played it totally safe, and died with very little money. On the other side, you have his rich dad. This was his best friend's father, a guy who never even finished the 8th grade. But instead of climbing a ladder, he built businesses and spent his life buying assets, and he became one of the wealthiest men in Hawaii.
And by watching these two completely different lives, Kiyosaki came up with his central idea. This one sentence is the engine of the entire book. It's a simple thought, but once it really clicks for you, man, it changes how you see every single financial decision you make.
So how do the rich make money work for them? Well, according to Kiyosaki, it's because they understand a very simple but incredibly powerful framework. He says it might be the most important financial lesson you can ever learn. And it all comes down to two simple words: assets and liabilities.
Now, I want you to forget whatever your accountant might have told you. Kiyosaki's definition is brutally simple. An asset is anything that puts money into your pocket, period. It generates cash month after month, whether you're working or not.
And a liability, well, it's the exact opposite. It's anything that consistently takes money out of your pocket. It's a drain. It costs you. Simple enough, right? But this is where he drops the bomb. According to this framework, your house, the one you live in, is not an asset. And look, for most of us, hearing that feels like a direct attack on the entire American dream. But just look at it through his simple lens. Does your house put money in your pocket every month, or does it take money out? You pay a mortgage, you pay property taxes, insurance, and there's always something breaking that needs maintenance. It's a constant cash outflow. Therefore, he argues it's a liability.
And this simple distinction is absolutely crucial. Kiyosaki's whole point is that the middle class spends their lives buying liabilities that they think are assets, like cars, boats, and yeah, even their own homes. Meanwhile, the wealthy focus all their energy and money on one thing: acquiring true assets, businesses, real estate that generates rent, stocks that pay dividends, things that work for them. And this endless cycle of working a job just to pay for a growing list of liabilities, that's what Kiyosaki famously calls the rat race. It's a loop that's incredibly difficult to escape once you're in it.
When you have a job, you're making a deal. You trade your time for a paycheck. You work, you get paid. You stop working, the money stops. We're all taught to see this as security, but Kiyosaki says, no, that's the ultimate trap.
This all really comes down to one critical question, and I want you to ask yourself this right now. If you stopped working tomorrow, would your income stop too? If the answer is yes, then you don't own your financial life. Your job does. That is the rat race.
So, if any of this is starting to resonate, you're probably asking, okay, so how do I get out of this trap? Well, the book lays out 3 key moves you can make to start changing your financial direction. First, before any major purchase, you have to ask yourself that question. Is this an asset or is this a liability? Is it going to put money in my pocket or take it out? Second,
Pay yourself first. This means before you pay your mortgage, your car loan, any bills, you take a portion of your money and you use it to buy an asset. It forces you to prioritize building your wealth. And third, and this might be the most important one, invest in your financial education. Learn about taxes, about investing, about how money really works.
And this really gets to the absolute core of the book's argument. The real gap between the wealthy and everybody else isn't income, it's financial literacy. The wealthy just have a deeper understanding of the rules of the game, and it's a game the school system simply doesn't teach you.
So let's bring all this together. Look, this book definitely has its critics. And sure, some of the advice is controversial, but you absolutely cannot argue with the power of the central question it forces you to ask. Every hour you trade for a paycheck without also building an asset is another hour you spend making someone else wealthy. You're building your boss's dream, your landlord's portfolio, the bank's balance sheet. The book forces you to look in the mirror and decide if your daily work is building your own financial freedom or someone else's.
And that's the final takeaway. The goal isn't just to earn more money. I mean, a doctor earning $500,000 a year can still be stuck in the rat race if their expenses match their income. The real goal is to build a system of assets that generates income independent of your time. That's the path out. So the question is, are you building your system?